Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Turbo Overkill. Turbo Overkill is the first game by indie studio Trigger Happy Interactive. What kind of game did they decide to go with for their first? None other than a retro-inspired, fast-paced action shooter. Fitting considering their publisher, Apogee Entertainment, was involved with Duke Nukem 3D. But how does the gameplay stack up? The gameplay of Turbo Overkill is very straightforward. You have access to an arsenal of guns that grows over the course of the game, ranging from pistols to rockets or full-on orbital lasers. Alongside this, your body is augmented with a double jump, dashes, and a chainsaw leg. Using said arsenal, you will cleave through enemies and bosses as they come across your path. The game will encourage you to experiment with all the weapons, and you are rewarded for doing so. There are also upgrades along the way and augments that you can use to further splice your body, and doing so will help dictate your playstyle. However, even with the splicing, you are encouraged to experiment since you can swap around augments to your liking. Which leads us to the story. Why are we here? This is the sort of game where the gameplay speaks for the story. The story of Turbo Overkill takes cues from stereotypical science fiction. An all-powerful AI named Sin has taken over the cyberpunk city of Paradise. As a street cleaner named Johnny Turbo, who works for the corporation responsible for Sin, it is your job to clean up the mess. One can imagine the tropes at play, and the game definitely doesn't always take itself seriously. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat? I had a great time playing this game. It was around like 10 hours, and the entire time through, it was all about action and constantly being in these big arena fights against all these enemies at one time. And the game just got more and more ridiculous as I went on. Now, at the same time, it was one of those games where as I was playing it, after a couple hours, I had to go take a break because my eyes were just popping out of my eye sockets. They were hurting actually a little bit because it was just like so many flashing lights and
Yeah.
so much fast-paced action that I felt I needed a little bit of a break from everything and
Do
just
you
go
think
and
it's
watch a
because
video.
do you think it's because, Henrik, that the graphics are a bit Minecrafty, with the little blocky, and because you're so used to that HD effect with the more recent games, that sometimes that can play a factor with some gamers? Because I felt the same way. It was really hard on the eyes.
I don't know if it was entirely the pseudo retro styled graphics. It was probably more so the high saturated colors and lights that they had in the game, because it is taking place in a cyberpunk future, and the typical cyberpunk future is going to have like neon lights and flashing lights everywhere in any city basically. But this game basically took that and highlighted that to 11 rather than 9 or 10. And after a couple hours of just constantly having your guns flash lights at you, it was just a little tiring on the eyes.
Yeah, but you know what? This game really felt like it was meant for the PC. I
Oh yeah.
just wish like we had those, because I mean, in my area where I live in, you don't really see those like gamer rooms anymore where you can like jump in, to the store and they have like 25 PCs all set up and you can have a LAN party. This seems like the kind of game you would definitely want to have a field day with. But did you kind of feel like there's a little bit of repeated boss battles throughout, as much as there's amazing, landscapes to be followed upon when it comes to Turbo Overkill? I mean, you're constantly on ground, to the ship, to the, inside like weird flesh bodies, to up in space. I mean, I didn't even know what the hell was going on half the time, but I think that's what makes it kind of fun at the same time, because you're like, there's more? Wait, there's more?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it constantly kept going from place to place, and like the stakes kept growing and growing,
Yeah.
which is great. I kind of see what you mean by the repeat boss fights, though. Like, especially, I felt like the game focused a lot on the bounty hunters that are chasing you
Mm.
rather than the actual AI that you're going to try to hunt down. And it maybe spent a little bit too much time on the bounty hunters because there's three of them and you got to end up fighting all three of them at least once.
Yeah.
But a couple of them you fight more than once, and I mean, boss fights in an FPS has always been kind of like the genre's weak point in a sense. But I'd say there were some boss fights that didn't fall into the typical FPS tropes of, oh, okay, there's another humanoid type enemy and you got to kill him, and that's it. There were some boss fights that were actually kind of interesting, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're into like this whole RoboCop, like Terminator kind of style play, this game Turbo Overkill is definitely for you. I mean, there is heaps worth of content that is available for you for a great price, by the way. I mean, we got to really celebrate a lot of these indie developers in the year 2023 because they've been absolutely killing it. While we're going to be talking about later in the show how 200 and 300 million dollar projects are not the way to go in the future according to some of these major studio companies because it's just hard for them to actually develop new IP because we get fixated towards these sequels, these remakes, or quote unquote spin-ups. And what I mean by spin-ups, you might think of The Last of Us multiplayer. And they never have the luxury to discover something new. So indie gamers, or developers, I mean, excuse me, have really been the highlight of all this summer and throughout 2023. So, there's rumors that this game was like developed by one developer. Is that really true? I have no idea. But if that is the case, what an incredible job this person did with this game.
Oh, absolutely. I think that indie games constantly are really kind of showing up AAA games a lot of the time.
Big
When you have
time.
AAA games coming out that are just like not polished at all, you got a game like this that really does feel really polished. And I think another benefit of it being an indie game is that during its development cycle, because it was in early access for a while, all until this year, and during this development cycle, the developers got to actually keep up with the community and kind of like get feedback from them. And if any of you follow this guy on Twitter named Gianni Matrogano, he's this. You should go follow him for one because he's hilarious. He's a voice actor who ends up showing up in a lot of these indie games, and he actually got a lot of attention on social media because he would be the guy who would take a meme and then just like voice it. And I'm saying things like, someone would type out something that Duke Nukem would say, and then he'd go and be like, I'm gonna go record that line as Duke Nukem, for
Right.
example. And he voices one of the bounty hunters in the game. And there's actually a really great moment, which is perfect for us because you constantly say that I always say it's just a skill issue.
See, I was waiting for you to say, I got
Yeah.
your text late last night. Go on.
Yeah. So you fight this bounty hunter, right? And he says, "Skill issue. You're not even worth the bullets." And I beat that boss, and I got the achievement skill issue. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
and what was it? You were a
perfect.
part of the quote unquote 1%?
Yep, the 1% that actually got it because you have to beat that boss encounter with just your chainsaw legs and arms. And
Of
I,
course.
I
Of
was just
course
doing
it would
that
be end of
because
the road.
I was wanting to have some fun with the game. And then lo and behold, I got a 1% achievement.
But that's so badass about the game. Johnny Turbo with this really badass leg that has a chainsaw on it. I mean, how much cooler can that get? And just because we're saying you need to walk away at times because your eyes might hurt because of the fast paced motion of the game, does not mean that I'm calling it a pause. What I'm definitely saying is it's a repeat. I mean, it's definitely something that should be celebrated. I'm totally in awe with this game, and I love the killer soundtrack. It keeps you going. It's an easy game to play, and I think it's really, honestly, for all ages. You can have a whole lot of fun with this game, and it really does kind of give you that nostalgia factor back when you play this. So kudos to this person. Turbo Overkill is a definite repeat for me.
Yeah, I believe it's a repeat for me as well, considering it kind of came out of left field and it had a
Yeah.
lot of style and grace in doing so, I'd say. Like I said, it kind of shows up a lot of the AAA games that came out this year.
Yeah, go online. I mean, dude, you look at some of the reviews on like multiple different outlets. It's easily, I mean, at the lowest, it's got a 4.5 rating. Like, there's
Yeah.
hardly anybody bashing this game. So this might be in the contender for best indie game when it comes to the game of the year towards the end of the year. We'll see. But a lot of great games dropping in the year 2023. And if you haven't had a game on your radar for a quick second that isn't a AAA game, this one should be on your list.
Absolutely. Go take a look at it, see if you like the gameplay, and if you feel like you'd have even the slightest bit of fun, I'd recommend go trying it because you're probably gonna have a load of fun.
Oh yeah, big time, brother. And man, you guys heard it from us first. We're agreeing again this week, but there's nothing wrong with that. That just means there's a lot of killer games dropping over the summer. It's out today. Go ahead and check, your local listings, and it's on Steam right now. I believe it's not on the console right now. Correct?
Yeah, not yet, but they might have some plans to do so later, so keep an eye out.
Yeah, that's very true. Or hey, listen, it might show up on your little Steam Deck. I mean, that's the beauty about these new remote play cloud gaming experiences. But
Or
hey,
maybe
for
on your
all
iPhone 15.
oh, hey, yeah, hey, you ain't lying. That might be the potential future. Well, you can't say iPhone 15. Remember, you have to say
Oh,
iPhone
right.
15
iPhone 15
Pro.
Pro. Yeah.